Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Africa. This is Achieng Otieno, working with the Kenya Tobacco Control Alliance. And today I'm having a conversation with Brenda Chitindi. Brenda is the Executive Director of Tobacco Free Association of Zambia. She's a strong public health advocate who is passionate about advocacy on the reduction of the risk factors for non-communicable diseases and focusing more on tobacco control. So our conversation today will be looking more into tobacco farming and zeroing in child labor in our tobacco farms. Tobacco farming is one of the biggest challenges that we are experiencing as a continent. And we are seeing there's a growing number of child labor, according to different studies that have been conducted in the continent. But today, at least, we have an opportunity to hear experiences and just a case study of what happens in Zambia. So, Madam Brenda, I would like us to just get into it. First of all, good morning. How are you doing?
Good morning, Achin. At least I'm very well. And how are you?
I'm great. Greetings from back home. Now, I understand Zambia is one of the countries that grows tobacco in Africa. And according to some statistics that I just bumped on, they are saying that tobacco is grown by an estimated 18,000 farmers, farmholds, and which gives an estimation of 17,800 small-scale farmers and about 200 commercial farmers. And maybe at this point, maybe Brenda, you can briefly describe to us the situation of child labor in tobacco farms in Zambia. Maybe I need to pick your thought on that.
Thank you very much. Child labor in tobacco production is very, very, very wide. And the children definitely are widely used in tobacco production, whether from the start of of producing tobacco to the last minute of marketing. All these areas are being used by children. And most of these children, they range from 5 years to 15 years, laboring in tobacco production. Actually, it's very, very wide. In all the tobacco growing districts in Zambia, they use child labor.
Okay. Well, thank you, Brenda, for that, for confirming that child labor is rampant in Zambia, and maybe just to give us a glimpse of how work is carried out by children in the tobacco farms, and what impact does this sort of have on the children who are involved in this tobacco farming?
Yeah, there's a lot involved. And most of these tobacco, the small-scale farmers, tobacco growing small-scale farmers, they have families, they have children. And in most cases, they use those children to help them in the tobacco production. And what we understand is because of the tobacco intensiveness, the labor intensiveness, the elders cannot make it on their own, and they have to include children. And also, they cannot pay up their labor to employ workers into the tobacco fields. So you find that most of the time, children are used. They use family children, and if they don't use like in some families where they don't have enough children, they just hire children by paying them like sweets, bubble gums, these small attraction, food stuff for children, just to attract them, to help them in the field. And the way they start children, they start from land preparation. They use a very normally the land is in dry season, and they use some hoes. Most of them, they don't have plows, and they cannot afford the plows. So they use children, they give them some hoes and do the plowing in the dry land, of which we find children. The time we went there, we found children definitely toiling in that, with that hard ground, and plowing with just some hoes. And we found that it was really a torture for children to dig a dry ground with hoes, using all the energies that they have, which is very unfortunate. And they start plowing the ground. After plowing the ground, then they prepare some necessary beds where they spread the seed, and then they start watering. And the watering itself is another very high intensive, it's very intensive work, where the children have to wake up around 4 a.m., 5 a.m., for a child to wake up at that hour and walk to the field. At times it's about a kilometer or so to the field to water the necessary beds. And what we are told when we carried out an investigation there, we found that the children have to use the cans, about 20 to 30 cans per bed. And the water that is being drawn is at a distance. So in fact, by the time they complete those 20, 30 cans of watering, they go back home, they prepare for school, and most of the time, what we are told that we get very tired, and at times we don't go to school. And if we manage to go to school, we don't concentrate at school, and we normally doze, and which is very unfortunate for the children. Instead of learning, then they're being labored in this tobacco production work. And after the watering itself, the other stage is transplanting the nursery to the main beds. And there again, they have to prepare the land, make some beds, and start transplanting, which is another hard job for the children, looking at their ages. And most of them, what we are told before that, they cannot have breakfast 4 a.m. or 5 a.m. They go to the field without having any breakfast. And most of the time, when they come back again, they find maybe the time is not there for them. So they go to school without any breakfast or any meal with them because of time. Their time has been consumed in the tobacco production.
Wow, that is very disheartening to know that children are being subjected to this kind of hard labor. with improper equipment, and clearly, as you've indicated, it's intensive work. Now, maybe just to pick your thought on this, are there any health impacts or any impacts that have been, apart from, of course, missing school? Are there any health impacts that have been highlighted as a result of this?
In most of this tobacco production, at least we have overlooked that besides harming the tobacco smokers, the tobacco growers are first harmed with the non-protective clothes, handling the tobacco leaf with non-protective clothing, and also exposed to tobacco dust and nicotine, where they are affected health-wise. And most of the time, what we find in tobacco farms, there are a lot of, you find the tobacco farmers, even the children themselves, coughing, and at times they complain that they're feeling headache and sneezing, coughing, and all those, even not being nauseous. And we just requested them that why don't they visit the hospitals? And most of the other thing that we discovered is that the hospitals are at a distance, and for a child to go to the hospital, they have to walk about 2 to 3 kilometers, which is a distance again. That's what we most of the time we are just thinking that we are just sensitizing on smoke-free environments without considering the first stage of the tobacco harms, which is tobacco production.
Oh, thank you, Brenda, for that information. Clearly, this situation is dire, and it not only violates the children's rights, but it also exposes them to very deadly effects of tobacco, as you've mentioned. Now, maybe just to pick your thought on, I know you are a very strong advocate. Just to pick your thought on the actions that the civil society have taken to address some of these challenges that you are mentioning.
That one, I think we've made a lot of noise, like the campaigns. We have done a lot of awareness campaigns, especially in tobacco growing areas. And most of the tobacco farmers there, when they see us, they're just, you just want to distract our business here. You just want our children not to help us because this is a traditional thing. We are saying no, but we are protecting your children. The children should be aware about the health effects of tobacco production, because they are exposed to pesticides when spraying the tobacco leaf. That they don't use the masks. They just plain. So it's a lot of health hazards. And also, we have advocated, we have sensitized the community, the public, the population through media, radios, televisions, and including the social media platforms. I think most of people now are getting to know the health hazards of tobacco production, especially on children. And the other thing I checked, Zambia signed a lot of treaties, including the child labor treaties, but there is no enforcement, no monitoring to see what's actually happening in the tobacco growing fields.
Yeah, thank you for that. And I'm seeing there's sort of a common trend, especially on on the issues of child labor and the treaties that most African states have signed. Now, from where you stand as sort of we get what's winding up, what do you think should be done to protect these children from this kind of exposure to tobacco, to this kind of tough labor in tobacco farms, and just to work towards securing their future? Because clearly, by being exposed to some of these things that we're talking about, their future appears to be a bit glim, and some of them might not even get to see to their 20s or 30s, or even get to their adulthood. So what do you think should be done now, maybe addressing it to the government and the enforcement, people who are charged with the enforcement of these treaties and the laws that Zambia has?
Thank you. Exactly, Achin. Children in tobacco growing need to be protected because, as I already explained, they're exposed to so many hazardous work. And the treaty, the government should make sure that the treaty that they sign, like the protection of children rights right to health, definitely they need to make sure that these treaties are followed, and there is enforcement, and also to make sure that they visit tobacco growing areas to see what is on the ground, how children are being treated, how children are being exposed to hazardous tobacco production. And definitely there should be some enforcement, because we cannot let the children be exposed like that. And most of them, even health-wise, they don't look to health, and they need to take action that those children are encouraged to visit the hospitals and for their checkups. And also the government should come in and come up with alternative livelihood, like the growing of simple crops, but viable to, and profitable, that they can look into. There are so many crops that are very profitable than tobacco, and we need the government to seriously look into the alternative livelihood of tobacco farmers to protect the children, because the tobacco farmers cannot avoid. They cannot avoid to leave children, not to help them in the tobacco fields. Like I already said, it's a labor intensive. They need a lot of concentrated efforts to produce tobacco. So the government should definitely come in and help the tobacco farmers, sensitize the tobacco farmers on alternative livelihood to help them to protect the children from hazardous work.